Hello, 321, and welcome back to yet another episode of the monthly market update. My name is Kurtis Hawkins, and I'm here with Brett Gurr today.
Hello.
And today we're going to go over the monthly market update for the month of October, as well as some news headlines to talk about the market, see what's going on, what's affecting it.
Exactly. We've got a few things happening in the market these days. Obviously, being October, fall, people are starting to kind of, I don't want to list my home. Christmas is coming, things like that. So that is happening a little bit these days.
It seems like every conversation, I shouldn't say that. I had a couple listings coming up, whatever, but most of the people that I'm talking to, they're kind of planning for the spring.
Yeah, your typical family home, they're always like, back burner, or if you have listings, people are starting to kind of want to walk or think about taking it off the market. But that being said, it's bad to do that, because if more people are doing that, if lots of people are doing it, and you're one of the few that leave it on the market, you're going to have a better chance of selling your place because there's way less competition.
Yep.
So,
if you're looking at it right now, we'll talk about the numbers in a second, but I was just on the phone with somebody right before we got on this, and he was asking me, what's inventory like in Lethbridge? I'm looking in the 375 range. Yeah. I'm like, there's nothing. I think I was looking, and there's like 50 across the entire city. That's like between 350 and 400. So what that means is if you're selling, get your home on the market now, because that's going to go quick.
Yeah, especially if other people are taking it off for Christmas time. Yep. You know, if there's 30, 40 in that list, in that price list, and you end up taking yours off, then there's 5 or 10.
So we have a Keystone listing coming up this week. Should be up to what day is it? Tuesday today. Should be up for Thursday. And when we're sitting down talking about the fine details about getting it listed, she's like, well, is it better to list when there's nothing out there? I'm like, heck yeah.
Yes.
I got nothing else to choose from, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah, it certainly is. Great time to list, because it goes against what everyone else is thinking. You know, it's a great time to take it off the market.
Interest rates, and that's what people are scared about, the interest rates.
Yeah.
Like literally we don't need to be anymore. Like we've already like gone over that hill. They've held at the last interest rate hike, which is another.
Yeah, it's great news.
Yeah. Geez.
Great news.
So it doesn't mean they're coming down.
Yeah.
But they have held it. The Bank of Canada's held it. And then the other thing that really affects interest rate is the bond market. So the bond market has dropped a little bit. So fixed rates, Dylan Kelly, he was telling me last week that the fixed rates have dropped a little bit because of the bond market. So there's actually been a mortgage interest rate drop because of those bond rates. So that's a good thing. Only on fixed, not variable.
Yeah, and economists right now are predicting that there won't be a whole lot of drops until potentially 2027.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're waiting, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Yep.
So just pull that pin, get into a property, refinance down the road, and start accruing that interest, start accruing that equity, and get into a home now. You know,
I sound like a broken record, but think long term.
Yes.
Right. Like even whether it's interest rates or negotiating the price, if you're off by $1,000 when you're negotiating, you're not going to think about that 20 years from now when you sell the house. Oh, I could have saved that $1,000 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And whether it's a 2.5 interest rate, or sorry, I should say, what are we at now? Probably 6?
5.5 almost.
So if we're at 5.5 or 5.6 or whatever, who cares? You're not even going to remember it in 20 years. So
then you could be one of those old guys that's like, back in my day.
Yeah, 6%.
Yes, exactly. Okay. You want to just get into some numbers now and see where we're at?
Sure. And then we'll get into some news articles after.
Absolutely. So looking at Hom Sold, through the month of October, we were 159 homes sold within Lethbridge. September saw 183. August 176, July 193. This time last year was 122, and our 5-year average is 151 typically. So we're
quite a lot of business for October.
Still, we're still chugging along. Definitely things are still moving. The market seems to have cooled slightly, but the numbers that we're pulling keep the market still good.
Yeah.
Still bolstering.
Yep.
So average days on market, October saw 63, September saw 61, August 52, July 51, October last year saw 70, and 5-year average is 78. So there you go.
The weird number here is like if you just look at the last 7 days, average day market was like 52.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this number might really be getting squished going into November.
Interesting. You know, I did actually see a reflection of that when I did this. November was looking low. I didn't actually point out the exact number to it, but that's interesting.
Yep.
So probably in a testament to low inventory.
Really, like I don't know. We always compare the last 3 months, but last 3 months, like it's crazy how much it changes, right? Because like July and August, everyone's just wrapping up the summer, so everyone's getting those deals in right away. That's why the average day market or average day on market is lower. Coming into the fall, like it's predictable that it's going to go up. But I think always the biggest number to look back on is what was it doing last year at this time?
Right.
Because obviously seasons are the same every year.
Absolutely.
And we're so far in the last two, and Hom Sold and average day on market, we're crushing it.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely are. So it's still good to see. Things are still moving. Active homes on market. This October, we saw 363, September 414. So we're definitely down significantly. August saw 480, July saw 464, October of last year was 492, and then 5-year average is 641. So again, they're not like sticking on. There's low inventory for sure.
That's crazy.
So if you are on the fence, well, maybe I'll wait until spring. Now's a great time to do it. It's certainly lower.
Do you happen to know what detached are?
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah,
just
sure.
a sec here.
Yeah, look that up.
I should have logged into this beforehand, but yeah, 363, and last year this time we were at 492.
Yeah.
So we're almost 200 houses less. Like, geez.
Yeah, definitely some significant movement there as far as those active homes.
Let's go.
Certainly
Searching
a lot
up
less.
right now. Lethbridge, active. I'm going to do active.
Yeah.
Or I guess we can do pending too. Let's start with pending. Detached, 258 for detached.
Wow. Yeah.
And then pending, take out pending, 219 to choose from in the whole city.
Yeah. Wow.
So let's just look at West, just for example, 86
Jeez.
in the whole price range.
Yeah.
So average price range is like 350 out here, right? So if we go 300 to 400, I'm just going to keep narrowing it down just to see.
Right.
So if you're looking on the west side between 300 and 400,000, there's 15 to choose from.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. And it kind of goes, we're gonna hit on this point later, due to, there's low inventory, things like that. National housing crisis that we're looking at, things like that. We're certainly going to hit on that later on.
Yep.
But that is something that our federal government is dealing with.
Well, let's talk about why there's no houses on the market. Interest rates are up.
Yeah.
So if you have a house and you're like, maybe I should upgrade, and you're sitting with a 2%, 3% interest rate, you're not selling to get a 6% interest rate.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's literally why.
That's a massive factor. Absolutely.
It's not because like the other way you could see this is like, well, maybe no homes are selling because there's no buyers out there. That's not the case.
No, there's definitely significant buyers.
Right?
For sure.
Your house is going to sell if you want to sell, but lots of people aren't selling because they don't.
True. Yeah.
Like
when you're sitting on a 5-year 1.9,
now of course you can port that mortgage into a different one. But
you still go up.
Exactly.
You're still going to 3.8.
Well, especially if you're upgrading.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
If you're downsizing, can you port a mortgage if you're downsizing? Probably.
You can. You just have to pay. There's a penalty to pay the difference.
Right.
Yeah. You definitely can. The banks the lenders just nail you with the difference when you go, oh, you're downside. Ooh, and they slap you.
Yeah. You can always upgrade. And so basically what happens, lots of people don't know this, but when you port your mortgage, you take whatever mortgage you have now. So let's say you're owing $200,000 at 2% interest rate. Let's say if you're moving that $200,000 to your next house, you can still keep that $200,000 that you're borrowing at the 2% interest rate. Then if you're borrowing more after that, that's at the new interest rate.
Okay.
So it does save you quite a bit.
Interesting. Yeah.
But you're still going to pay a little bit more on the new interest rate. So.
Yeah. Because anytime I've reported it, you always go in and you're doing the math like, okay, you got 1.8, 50, and then it never lands in the middle. You know, it's always more. And you're looking at the bank and you're like, you know, like, I think I'm getting the gears here, and of course, you're always getting the gears when it comes to the bank. So yeah.
Okay. So what's next?
Moving on. Average
home price?
Yes. Average home price. So October, we went down to 348,513. So we've dropped down. September, we were 366,628. So that was, as far as long as we've been doing this, as far as we know, that's been an all-time high in September. So we dropped down in October. August saw 348,733. July was 328,376. October of last year, we were 329,849, and that 5-year average is 310,814.
Geez, we're pretty significantly from October last year, hey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we're down significantly from, we're down significantly from September September this year, but all the millionaires were out last month, I guess, buying houses.
We looked into it. There were a couple of big ones that sold.
Quite a few.
There were a few big ones that sold last month, and it just kind of spiked that average number. So, and list to sale percentage. So this is the price that you're listing at versus the price that it sells at. 96.9% in October. September saw 97.3. Yeah. August saw 97.8. July 97.5. October of last year saw 96%, and that 5-year average 95.34. So, homes are still going for pretty much very close to what their original list price is. Statistic I liked and I pulled was total sales volume, the amount of dollar value that is sold within Lethbridge. So October saw 55,413,000. September saw 67,093,000. 61,377,000 in August. 4,362,000 in July, and October of last year was 40,241. So that right there is a pretty staggering number. We're exceptionally higher than where we were this time last year. So even with low inventory, things are still moving, and that 5-year average was around 51,000.
So you compare this to Hom Sold,
51 million. Sorry.
When you compare that number to Hom Sold, you can kind of see why we're up. You know, we've sold 30 something more houses, and average home price is up as well compared to last year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you bet.
Those numbers all check out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What that means.
Exactly.
So just getting into a little bit of news. One of the articles that I was reading, now that there's no Facebook news articles, you got to really dig for them, which is fine, but it would be way more convenient if we could put them back on Facebook for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So one of the articles I found is average rent prices are up across Canada, and they're saying they're set to surge.
Right.
So we're already at record highs for 2023. So, they're saying, where is this, in Ontario? Or is this all of Canada? New listings in terms of rentals. Oh, they're just saying across Canada. So average rent across Canada is, for a 2-bedroom apartments, average $2,200 a month.
Right.
Which is 13% increase.
Yeah.
And 3 bedrooms are $2,500 per month. This, from what I can tell, these do not include utilities, and this is across Canada.
Well, and I believe there was talk about government intervention coming in and capping interest rates or capping rent rates in certain areas.
Yeah,
I don't have a great source on that, but I've heard that that's kind of what they're talking about. That could go really bad one way. Obviously, if you're renting, that sounds like a great thing, but
in reality, there's a lot of moving parts to that, right?
Absolutely. Interest rates, with our constant utilities are constantly going up. Like, there's a ton of expenses for landlords.
Well, interest rates is the biggest one.
Absolutely.
Right? Obviously, if you own the house in cash, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. You're paying that mortgage that's gone up significantly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's big.
there's definitely a case on both sides of it, whether you're a renter or you're owning.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a renter, you'd be absolutely. That sounds like a great thing.
Yeah. Right.
But
it's a no brainer. And then if you're a landlord, absolutely you don't want it.
Yeah.
Right. So there is some middle ground that they should try to find here.
Definitely.
You want to hear some crazy numbers though?
Sure.
Month to month average rent prices in Toronto did not change significantly. The city is still has the second highest asking rate at $229 per month.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah.
$3,000 a month.
And that's average.
That's probably I'm assuming that's like downtown in a 600 square foot, apartment.
Yeah. Well, I would
think
it might be averaged out, but
Vancouver is actually more expensive and is at $3,300 per month. Oh,
yeah.
Makes me puke, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's scary.
So then I took these numbers and obviously those are crazy numbers when we're talking about them. To people out there, it's whatever. It is what it is. In Lethbridge, let me pull up the average rent here. What are we at? 2022. Our average rent this is just all average rent. Our average rent. So what did I just say? Vancouver was 23 or 32.
No, Vancouver was 32.
And Toronto was 29.
Yep.
Our average rent here is 1,000.
Right.
$1,100 a month for average rent. So if we break this down a little bit more, because I did have, average rent for a 2-bedroom. Yeah. For a 2-bedroom was $1,100 a month.
Yeah.
Yep. So a third of the price of Vancouver and over half of Ontario.
Yeah.
And I know.
And in theory, maybe there's more to choose from here. I can't say that for certainty, but maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. I don't know on that, but I would.
I know it's tough to find a rental anywhere right now.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. Yeah. It's really tough finding rentals, but interesting. Those are staggering numbers.
It is, and I know everybody. Our rent is up 5% compared to 2021. So last year it was at 1,039 on average. Now it's at 1,094.
Right, and I believe the last time we did this, we talked all of Alberta. I believe was up 15% on average.
Probably
on a report that we did.
I know Calgary
6 months ago.
Calgary's increased pretty significantly for sure.
Yeah,
but people in Lethbridge, they complain all the time how much rent has gone up, and it's like, yeah, it has, but in comparison,
yeah,
we're doing very well.
Yeah, and property in general, rent, everything is just so cheap here. Like we're big into social media. We're constantly putting out TikToks and things like that. And $800,000 homes go to people in other areas, and they're just like, oh, come on, that's terrible. But they also look at it and they're like, depends on where you get those people from. Like if they're from Ontario, they're like, wow, what a deal. And then there's other people in Edmonton and other areas that are like, oh, that's too much money. That's way too much money. So it all depends on where those people are viewing it from. But it's staggering to get those TikToks to people out east, BC, and they're like, wow, what a difference.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's completely night and day. I couldn't imagine living in a BC or Ontario.
Yeah.
And trying to buy my first home. Thankfully, I've said this before in other podcasts too, that me and my wife have bought 2 other rentals.
Right.
If we were in any other city, there's no way we could afford that by now.
Yeah.
It would take forever. If you could at all. You could even how do you buy a 600 square foot $1 million apartment downtown Toronto?
Yeah. It's so tough. I
don't know where the money comes from, but
well, you lean pretty hard on your bank.
And parents probably there's tons of studies about that too.
Exactly.
So talking about increase in rentals and increase in housing costs, you were mentioning the housing crisis,
right?
So
yes,
Ottawa, the Liberals, I guess they've done some work to try to address this. So one of the things that they've done is taken out HST, I believe. Is it HST? And for any new rental builds that are being built. So what they're saying, GST. So Ottawa has announced they'll remove GST on purpose-built rental homes and has created a multi-billion-dollar housing accelerator fund to fast-track the creation of 100,000 new homes. That sounds great, doesn't it? The next line in this article says, still, the CMHC says there is a need for 3.5 million additional housing starts above what is currently planned. So that's great.
Yeah.
No GST and accelerator fund, 100,000 new homes. It's like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, not even putting a dent in it, right?
No.
So yeah, that's tough. And yeah, we're seeing it lots, and it's definitely going to contribute to prices being raised. People just aren't doing trades anymore, which is definitely a contributing factor, you know.
Like what is the there's no, you can't find anybody to work. Materials are more expensive. And interest rates are higher. So it's
and our immigration rate is the highest it's ever been in years.
Yes.
Like our immigration rate is through the roof, right? So
immigration's a great thing, but
for sure
we gotta have places to put people that are coming here. Like, it's a no-brainer. Like there has to be infrastructure for a growing population.
There's a catch-22. You can't just bring in hordes of people, and there's issues that come with that.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely, unfortunately, what we're dealing with. And that's certainly a major contributing factor to our housing crisis moving forward here.
Yep.
So
I don't know what the solution is, but we just need to build more. So whatever we got to do.
I don't know what the solution, it's, more homes built. And
I was watching a TikTok the other day, and this guy was talking about that they built how long did it take to build the Empire State Building?
Right.
1 year and 45 days. So we can build the Empire State Building in 145 days. And like in all these big municipalities, we can't get anything built.
Right.
Like that's the problem. It takes so long. There's so much like bureaucracy that gets in the way. There's all this city planning, which is a good thing, but obviously if it's stifling buildings, like right now, it's like our head should be down putting up houses because that's what we need.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. And it was different time back then. It was everybody. If you were getting a job, it was fantastic. Everybody was gung ho. If people building those buildings didn't want to work, they all of a sudden went, and there were 400 more people in line that were ready to get a job and get up there. So those times have definitely changed, and unfortunately, that's certainly a contributing factor.
So speaking of employment, we're leading perfectly into these next articles.
Yeah,
so next one that I wanted to talk about was the unemployment rate. So the unemployment rate in Alberta has dropped pretty significantly, which is a good thing. But Lethbridge, of all cities, has the lowest unemployment, which is amazing. So I dug into it a little bit more. And the lowest unemployment rate is Lethbridge, and we're sitting at about 5.4, I think it says. Yeah, we're at 5.4. We're down from 5.6 from last year, which is great. And then there's a graph here, which you guys can't see. But yeah, there's a couple graphs, and Calgary seems to be at like the top of the unemployment rate. And we kind of go like this. Obviously, January 2020, when the lockdowns came, everything spikes.
Right. Oh, of course.
Everything's plummeted quite a bit. But even during that time, there's a line for Calgary, Edmonton, Lethbridge, and then Alberta as a whole. And Lethbridge is significantly lower than both Calgary and Edmonton. I don't know if that's population or if our economy is that great, but it's a good thing.
Well, yeah, we've just got a lot of diversification through our economy, right? And that helps. There's just tons of diversification.
And it doesn't matter what happens with oil, with anything really. Like Lethbridge is its own little, it's always been like that. It's always like its little bubble that doesn't get affected by much.
Yeah, when the oil patch goes down, of course it affects Lethbridge, but not significantly like it affects Calgary, Edmonton, Red Deer, Fort McMurray, those areas, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Lethbridge just kind of catches a bit of it, but for the most part, our economy just keeps chugging along.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually surprising. I was unaware that we have that low unemployment rate. That's great.
Yeah.
It's
great
fantastic news.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else? That's all I got.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we've covered kind of everything, maybe a little bit more.
Perfect.
Sounds
good.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another monthly market update. There will be another one next week, or next month, I should say. So if you guys like this and want to hear more, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, do all those things. You can follow me or Brett on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We're on them all. All our links will be down below in the description.
Yep.
Thanks so much for listening.
You bet. Thanks a lot, guys.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
You bet.
Goodbye.